The Force binds all things across the galaxy, connecting every living being in an invisible web of energy and destiny. But what happens when something arrives from beyond the stars? Something born not of the Force, but of gods whose names the galaxy has never heard. What happens when a warrior steps through a doorway between worlds, carrying weapons forged by divine hands and a mission she cannot abandon? The temple had been hidden beneath Themyscira for 3,000 years. Diana stood in the ancient chamber, her hand resting on stone that predated even the Amazons' arrival on the island. The symbols carved into the walls were unlike anything in the Amazon archives. Geometric patterns that seemed to shift and flow when viewed from different angles. Mathematical equations written in a language no scholar had ever deciphered. Her mother, Queen Hippolyta, had forbidden anyone from entering the deepest levels of the island's cave system. But Diana had always been curious. Today that curiosity would change everything. The walls began to glow. Diana stepped back, her warrior instincts flaring. Blue light traced the carved symbols, spreading like water through channels cut into the stone. The temperature in the chamber dropped, and the air itself seemed to vibrate with a frequency that made her teeth ache. In the center of the room, a massive circular structure, 30 feet in diameter, covered in the same incomprehensible symbols, rotated with grinding ancient mechanical precision. Energy crackled across the ring's surface. Diana drew her sword, the god-killer blade gleaming in the strange light. Whatever was happening, it was beyond anything she'd encountered. The symbols on the ring began to lock into place, one after another, each accompanied by a deep, resonant tone that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. 7 symbols, 7 locks, 7 tones that harmonized into something that transcended sound. The center of the ring exploded with light, not flame, not lightning, but a vertical pool of shimmering energy that rippled like water standing on its edge. Diana could see through it, but what she saw made no sense. Stars. Not the night sky above Themyscira, but stars in configurations she didn't recognize, surrounding a world of endless plains and scattered settlements. A blast of air rushed through the portal, carrying scents of alien vegetation and something else. Something that felt alive, aware, watching. Diana's divine heritage allowed her to sense the presence of gods and their works. This was neither, yet it carried a similar weight of cosmic significance. The portal began to destabilize, cracks of energy spiderwebbed across its surface. Diana made her decision in an instant. Whatever this gateway was, whatever lay beyond it, she couldn't let it remain a mystery. If this technology existed beneath Themyscira, others might know of it. Others might come seeking it. She needed to understand what the Amazons had and been unknowingly guarding. She stepped through. The transition was instantaneous and infinite. Diana felt herself stretched across impossible distances, her consciousness touching something vast and incomprehensible. A network of gates spanning not just worlds but realities themselves. For a fraction of a second, she saw them all. Hundreds of portals connecting thousands of worlds across time and space. A web of doorways built by hands unknown for purposes forgotten. Then, she was falling. Diana hit the ground hard enough to crack stone, landing in a combat crouch with her shield raised. Her Amazon training took over immediately. Assess the environment, identify threats, establish tactical position. She was in ruins. Ancient ruins by the look of them, similar in architecture to the temple beneath Themyscira, but far more extensive. Columns stretched toward an alien sky, and beyond them, she could see plains of golden grass rolling toward a horizon marked by distant settlements. The air was different here, thinner, drier, carrying the scent of grain fields and something else, something she couldn't identify. The gravity felt marginally lighter. The sun overhead was the wrong color, more yellow than the sun she knew. Behind her, the portal flickered and died with a sound like shattering glass. Diana spun, but the circular gateway was already dark, its symbols fading to cold stone. She pressed her hand against it, channeling her divine strength, but nothing happened. The gate was dormant, perhaps permanently. She was stranded wherever, whenever this place was. A sound made her turn. In the distance, between the ancient columns, she saw figures approaching. They wore robes of brown and tan, and even from hundreds of yards away, Diana could sense something unusual about them. They moved with a certainty that suggested more than just confidence. They moved as if they could see the future itself. The lead figure, a woman with dark skin and a lightsaber hilt, visible at her belt, raised her hand in what might have been a greeting or a warning. Diana of Themyscira, princess of the Amazons, champion of truth and justice, tightened her grip on her sword and prepared to meet this galaxy's first test. She had faced gods and monsters, tyrants and demons. Whatever awaited her in this strange new world, she would face it as she always had, with courage, wisdom, and an unbreakable commitment to protecting the innocent. The Force touched her then, though she didn't know the name for it. The Jedi woman stopped, her eyes widening in surprise and confusion. Because when she reached out with her senses to identify this newcomer, she found something impossible. A being of immense power who existed completely outside the Force, untouched by the energy field that bound all living things. In the galaxy far, far away, Diana of Themyscira had arrived, and nothing would ever be quite the same. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The Jedi woman's name was Master Karana T, and she had not expected her afternoon survey of the Dantooine ruins to include encountering a warrior from beyond the known galaxy. Diana watched the Jedi approach with calculated caution, 3 of them now, the woman in the lead, flanked by 2 younger individuals who carried themselves with the discipline of trained fighters, but lacked the older woman's absolute confidence. They had weapons unlike anything Diana had seen, cylindrical hilts that she suspected were far more dangerous than their simple appearance suggested. "I mean you no harm," Diana called out in Greek, then repeated it in every language she knew: Latin, English, ancient Sumerian, the divine tongue of Olympus. None of them registered recognition on the Jedi's faces. Master Karana T spoke, her voice calm but firm. The language was utterly foreign, yet carried a musicality that suggested sophistication and age. When Diana shook her head, the Jedi woman's brow furrowed. She turned to one of her companions, a young Twi'lek male with blue skin, and gestured toward the ruins. The Twi'lek produced a small device from his robes and began manipulating it with quick, practiced movements. Diana tensed, ready to deflect any attack, but what emerged from the device was sound, a series of tones and phonetic patterns that cycled through what must have been dozens of languages. Finally, one resonated. Basic, the common tongue of the Republic, filtered through the translator's linguistic matrix until it found patterns similar enough to Greek for basic communication. "Can understand this?" The words were broken, fragmented, but intelligible. Diana nodded. "Yes, I understand." Relief flickered across Master Karana T's face. She gestured to herself. "Jedi, peacekeepers, you, from where? Ship, not detected." "I came through the gate," Diana said, pointing to the now dormant circular structure. "From my home, Themyscira, a world very far from here." The Jedi exchanged glances. The third member of their group, a human woman barely out of adolescence, stepped forward and examined the ancient structure with what Diana recognized as professional interest. She ran her hands along the symbols, and Diana saw a faint shimmer of energy respond to her touch, something beyond normal human capability. "Ancient," the young woman said, her basic translated into Diana's understanding. "Rakata, perhaps older. This technology, not seen in millennia." Diana filed away the name. Rakata, the builders of the gates. Master Karana T's attention returned to Diana with renewed intensity. "You carry weapons, warrior?" "I am," Diana confirmed. "Diana of Themyscira, princess of the Amazons. I am a warrior and a protector of peace." The Jedi seemed to weigh this. Diana could feel the woman's attention on her, not just visual, but something deeper, as if Master Karana T was examining her with senses beyond the physical. It was similar to how gods perceived mortals, that sense of being truly seen, but different, less judgmental, more connected to everything around them. "Cannot sense you," Master Karana T said finally, confusion evident. "In force, you are void, yet alive, strong. This is impossible." Diana understood enough to grasp the issue. These Jedi, these peacekeepers, had some form of perception that connected them to the universe around them. and she, born of clay and given life by the gods of Olympus, existed outside whatever energy field they relied upon. "I am not of your world," Diana said carefully. "My power comes from different sources. Gods you do not know." The young human Jedi's eyes widened. "Gods? Forces?" Master Karana T raised a hand, silencing her student. The older Jedi's expression had shifted from confusion to something more diplomatic, the look of someone accustomed to navigating complex situations without perfect information. "Come," Master Karana T said, gesturing toward the distant settlements. "Enclave, there. Jedi Council will want, speak with you, learn, understand." Diana considered her options. She was stranded in an unknown location, possibly an unknown time, with no clear path home. These Jedi seemed to be peacekeepers, defenders of some kind of order. Their demeanor suggested honor, though Diana had learned centuries ago that appearances could deceive. Still, she needed information, and they seemed willing to provide it in exchange for understanding who and what she was. "I will come," Diana agreed. "But know this, I am not your prisoner, nor will I be detained against my will. I seek knowledge of this place and a way to return home." Master Karana T's lips curved in what might have been approval. "Understood. Jedi do not imprison guests. Come." Peacefully, they walked through the ruins toward the settlement, and Diana took the opportunity to observe. The architecture was ancient but maintained, suggesting this world held significance to the Jedi. In the distance, she could see a structure that seemed to blend seamlessly with the landscape: curved walls of pale stone, meditation gardens, and what appeared to be training grounds where robed figures practiced combat forms. The Twi'lek Jedi, who introduced himself as Aram through the translator, pointed out landmarks as they walked. Dantooine, agricultural world, Jedi enclave, ancient, place of learning. Many Force sensitives train here. "Force sensitive?" Diana asked. "Those who touch the Force," Aram explained, struggling with the translation. "Energy field, binds galaxy, living things. Some feel it, use it. Jedi, servants of light." Diana absorbed this, an energy field that connected all living things. These Jedi could perceive and manipulate it, use it to enhance their abilities. It explained their measured confidence, their careful movements. They were seeing possibilities and futures, reading intentions in the currents of this force, but they couldn't sense her. That would be both advantage and concern. Advantage because she operated outside their primary method of threat assessment. Concern because it made her an unknown variable. And in Diana's experience, unknown variables were either controlled or eliminated. As they approached the Enclave, more Jedi emerged. Word of her arrival had spread quickly, perhaps through this Force connection they shared. Diana counted at least 20 figures gathering in the courtyard, their ages ranging from children to elderly masters. All of them watched her with variations of the same expression, curiosity mixed with unease. Master Kirana T led her through the courtyard toward a central building. The young human Jedi, Sarah, had run ahead, no doubt reporting to higher authority. Diana kept her weapons sheathed, but her awareness sharp. She was vastly outnumbered, but her divine heritage made her nearly impossible to kill by conventional means. Still, she preferred diplomacy to combat when possible. The council chamber was circular, with seats arranged in a semicircle facing a central floor. 5 Jedi sat in those seats, masters by their bearing and the deference shown by others. The eldest, a human male with silver hair and piercing eyes, gestured for Diana to step forward. Master Karana T spoke rapidly in her native tongue, explaining the situation. Diana watched the council's reactions: surprise, skepticism, interest, concern. Finally, the silver-haired master raised a hand for silence. He spoke, and the translator provided his words. "I am Master Vrook Lamar, Jedi Council, Dantooine Enclave. You claim, come through ancient gate, from another world. You carry weapons of unknown make. You exist outside the Force. Explain. All of it." Diana met his gaze without flinching. "I am Diana, Princess of Themyscira, daughter of Hippolyta, champion of truth and justice. My home is an island inhabited by warriors blessed by the gods of Olympus. Beneath that island, I discovered a temple containing a gateway, what you call Rakata technology. The gate activated, and I passed through seeking knowledge. It closed behind me. I am stranded here, and I seek understanding of this place and a means to return home. Gods, Master Vrook said flatly. The Force is not my gods, Diana interrupted, her voice firm but respectful. I do not sense this Force you speak of, and you do not sense me. We are of different origins. But I am not your enemy, Master Vrook. I have spent my life protecting the innocent and fighting tyranny. If your Jedi truly serve peace, then we have common purpose. The Council exchanged glances. Finally, a Cathar female with golden fur leaned forward. Prove it. Your words, merely words. Jedi sense truth. But you, void. Show us. Your lasso, what is it? Diana's hand moved to the golden rope at her hip. The lasso of truth, forged by Hephaestus himself, had never failed to compel honesty from those it bound. She wondered if it would work here, in a galaxy so far from Olympus. Only one way to find out. This is the lasso of truth, Diana said, drawing it forth. The golden rope gleamed with inner light, a radiance that came from divine power, not technology. It compels absolute honesty from all it binds. If you doubt my words, I will submit to it myself. Ask me anything, and I will be unable to lie. Master Vrook's eyes narrowed. Interesting. Very well. Bind yourself. We shall see if this magic functions beyond your world. Diana wrapped the lasso around her own wrist. The familiar warmth flooded through her, the compulsion to speak only truth settling over her like a second skin. The Jedi leaned forward, sensing something, not through the Force, but through simple observation of the lasso's unmistakable aura. Ask, Diana said. Master Vrook's question was direct. Do you intend harm to the Jedi or the Republic? No, Diana answered, the word pulled from her by the lasso's power. I wish only to understand this galaxy, find a way home, and protect innocents from harm while I am here. Are you servant of the dark side? The Cathar master asked. I do not know what the dark side is, Diana replied truthfully. But if you ask if I serve evil, the answer is no. I am champion of truth and justice, blessed by Athena, Artemis, and the other gods of Olympus. Silence filled the council chamber. The Jedi could sense no deception, not through the Force, but through simple observation. Diana's demeanor, her willingness to submit to her own artifact's power, her steady gaze, all spoke to genuine conviction. Master Vrook finally nodded. Release yourself. For now, we believe you. But understand, this galaxy faces threats you cannot imagine. Ancient technology, like the gate you used, has destroyed civilizations. The Rakata enslaved thousands of worlds before their fall. If more gates exist, if they activate, consequences could be catastrophic. Diana unwound the lasso, returning it to her hip. Then we have common cause. I need to understand these gates. You need to ensure they don't fall into the wrong hands. Together, we can accomplish both. The council conferred in low voices. Finally, Master Vrook spoke. Very well. You may remain at the Enclave as guest, not prisoner. We will research the Rakata Gate technology. In exchange, you will teach us of your world, your abilities. And if threats arise, you will aid the Jedi as ally. Diana inclined her head. Agreed. But know this. I am not your soldier. I will fight alongside you if your cause is just, but I will not become a weapon in political conflicts I do not understand. Master Vrook's expression might have been approval. Acceptable. Master Karana T will be your guide. Learn our ways, we shall learn yours. May the Force... He paused, then amended with slight humor. May your gods watch over you, Diana of Themyscira. As Diana left the council chamber, she felt the weight of dozens of eyes on her back. She had secured temporary sanctuary, but she was under no illusions. These Jedi were powerful, disciplined, and deeply committed to their philosophy. They had accepted her for now, but trust would need to be earned through action, not words. The ancient Stargate beneath Themyscira had opened a door between worlds. What lay ahead would determine whether Diana became this galaxy's greatest ally or its most dangerous unknown. The Jedi Enclave's archives were vast, but they contained frustratingly little information about the Rakata and their infinite empire. Diana sat cross-legged in the dimly lit chamber, surrounded by holocrons, glowing geometric crystals that projected images and data when activated. Master Kirana T had shown her how to interface with them, though the technology seemed almost magical in nature. Information flowed as light and sound, recordings from Jedi scholars who had lived thousands of years ago. The Rakata were masters of the dark side, a blue-hued projection, explained the long-dead Jedi historian, gesturing at star maps that meant nothing to Diana. They built their empire on slavery and conquest, using technology powered by the Force itself. Their star forge could produce infinite fleets. Their temples spanned the galaxy. But their dependence on the dark side became their weakness. When a plague severed their connection to the Force, their empire collapsed in a single generation. Diana paused the recording. A civilization that rose and fell based on their connection to this Force energy. The gates she'd discovered predated even the Amazons, which meant the Rakata had been building their empire, while humans on Earth were still learning to forge bronze. Finding answers? She turned to see Sarah, the young human Jedi, standing in the archive entrance. The girl, no, woman, Diana corrected herself, perhaps 19 or 20 standard years, carried 2 cups of something that steamed in the cool archive air. Some, Diana replied, but mostly questions. Your historians know the Rakata fell, but not where all their temples are located. The gate network could span hundreds of worlds. Sarah offered one of the cups. Diana accepted it cautiously, sniffing the contents. Some kind of herbal tea, bitter but not unpleasant. She sipped it while Sarah settled onto a nearby cushion, with the casual familiarity of someone who spent considerable time in libraries. Master Vrook says you're a paradox, Sarah said, her basic now coming through the translator with greater clarity as the device learned Diana's linguistic patterns. You exist outside the Force, yet you're clearly alive, powerful, conscious. It shouldn't be possible. Everything living is touched by the Force. Perhaps not everything, Diana suggested. I was formed from clay by my mother, and given life by the gods. No father, no natural birth. I am divine creation, not natural evolution. Sarah's eyes widened. Clay? That's... She stopped herself, reconsidering. I suppose no stranger than midi-chlorians binding us to an energy field that controls destiny. Diana smiled slightly. She liked this young Jedi's directness. Tell me about your training. How does one become a Jedi? Over the next hour, Sarah explained the Jedi Order's structure. Children identified as Force-sensitive were brought to the Order young, raised in the temples, taught to suppress attachment and emotion in favor of peace and serenity. They trained for decades, learning to control their connection to the Force, mastering combat with lightsabers, studying diplomacy and philosophy. Diana listened with growing concern. You take children from their families? To protect them, Sarah said defensively. Force-sensitive children are vulnerable to the dark side. Without training, they can become dangerous. And families, attachment leads to fear. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to suffering. Attachment leads to love, Diana countered gently. Love leads to courage. Courage leads to sacrifice for others. I was raised by my mother and hundreds of Amazon sisters. Their love made me strong, not weak. Sarah fell silent, clearly uncomfortable. Diana recognized the look. It was the expression of someone confronting an idea that challenged foundational beliefs. The young Jedi changed the subject. Your weapons? The lasso compels truth. What do the others do? Diana drew her sword, the god-killer blade gleaming even in the archive's low light. This sword was forged to kill gods. It has ended immortal lives. In your terms, I suppose it channels divine energy. Power beyond the Force. Sarah leaned forward, fascinated. And the bracelets? Forged from the shield that Zeus used in the war against the Titans. They can deflect virtually any attack. Arrows, bullets, energy blasts. I suspect they would deflect your lightsabers as well, though I have no desire to test that theory in combat. Could I? Sarah reached out hesitantly toward the bracelet on Diana's wrist. Diana extended her arm, allowing the Jedi to examine the metal. Sarah's fingers traced the intricate patterns, and Diana saw her eyes unfocus slightly, reaching out with the Force, trying to understand what she was touching. There's nothing, Sarah whispered. No Force signature. It's like touching a void shaped like metal. How is that possible? Because it was made by gods whose power comes from belief, worship, and divine mandate, Diana explained. Not from the energy field that binds your galaxy. We are strangers here, my weapons and I, outsiders to the natural order. A commotion in the outer archive made both women look up. Master Karana T strode in, her normally calm expression tight with concern. Behind her came Aram, the Twi'lek Jedi, practically vibrating with urgency. Diana, Master Karana T said without preamble, the Rakata ruins. Something is activated. We need you. They moved quickly through the Enclave grounds, gathering more Jedi as they went. By the time they reached the ancient temple where Diana had arrived, a dozen lightsaber-wielding peacekeepers surrounded the structure. The circular gate was glowing again, symbols cycling through combinations with increasing speed. "Did you do this?" Master Vrook demanded, arriving with the other council members. "No," Diana said, studying the activation sequence. "But I recognize the pattern. It's different from when I came through. Someone else is opening the gate from the other side." "Another traveler?" Iram asked. Diana shook her head slowly. "Or something following me." The gate's center erupted with that familiar vertical pool of energy. But instead of the gentle rippling Diana remembered, this portal boiled with violent instability. The air around it crackled with discharge, and several Jedi staggered back as the Force itself seemed to recoil from the opening. "Dark side!" Master Vrook shouted. "I sense the dark side!" Through the portal stepped a figure, and Diana's warrior. Instinct screamed danger. It was humanoid, but clearly not human. Gray skin, facial tendrils, and eyes that burned with red fury. It wore armor of dark metal and carried a weapon that ignited with a crimson blade as it emerged. A Sith. Diana didn't know the term yet, but she recognized evil when she saw it. The being's gaze swept the assembled Jedi, then locked onto Diana. When it spoke, its voice was like grinding stone, the translator struggling to interpret the malevolent tone. "The Gate Guardian, the one who exists outside. The Dark Lord Darth Malevolus has waited millennia for your kind to return." More figures emerged from the portal, warriors in dark armor, carrying weapons both technological and arcane. Diana counted 8, then 12, then stopped counting as they continued to pour through. This wasn't exploration, this was an invasion force. "Close the gate," Master Vrook commanded. The Jedi moved as one, a dozen lightsabers igniting in a chorus of humming energy. Blue and green blades lit the ruins as the peacekeepers formed a defensive line. Diana drew her sword and shield, stepping forward to stand beside Master Karana T. "You face the Jedi Order," Master Vrook proclaimed. "Leave now or be destroyed." Darth Malevolus laughed, the sound devoid of warmth. "The Order is fractured, weakened by your dogma and fear of power. You cannot even sense the true threat before you. But she," the Sith pointed at Diana with his crimson blade, "she is the key, the one who can open all the gates, and the Dark Lord will have her, willing or broken." Diana's grip tightened on her sword. "I am Diana of Themyscira. I have faced gods and monsters. I do not fear shadows that hide in darkness." "Then face me, Amazon," Darth Malevolus snarled. "Show these fools what power looks like when unbound by their pathetic light." The Sith charged. Diana met him halfway, her god-killer blade clashing against his lightsaber in an explosion of sparks and energy. The impact sent shockwaves through the ground, cracking ancient stone. Around them, Jedi and Sith warriors engaged in a chaotic melee of flashing blades and force powers. Darth Malevolus was fast, unnaturally so, augmented by the dark side of the Force. His strikes came from impossible angles, his movements predicted by precognition and enhanced by telekinetic force. But Diana had been trained by the greatest warriors of Themyscira, had fought for centuries against enemies both mortal and divine. She was faster. Her sword swept up, deflecting a strike that would have severed her arm. Her shield blocked a telekinetic blast that would have crushed her bones. She pivoted, using her Amazon combat techniques, striking at vulnerabilities that no amount of Force foresight could protect. The Sith's eyes widened in shock. You move outside fate itself. I cannot see your strikes before they come." "Because I am not of your Force," Diana said, pressing her attack. "Your dark powers have no hold over me. She drove forward, her centuries of combat experience overwhelming Darth Malevolus's supernatural advantages. The Sith Lord called upon the Force, hurling debris and energy, but Diana's bracelets deflected everything. Lightning crackled from his fingertips, dark side power that had killed countless Jedi, and Diana caught it on her bracelets, the divine metal absorbing and dispersing the energy harmlessly. "Impossible!" Darth Malevolus screamed. Diana swept his legs, sending him crashing to the ground. Her sword came down, stopping a hair's breadth from his throat. Around them, the battle had turned. The Jedi, emboldened by Diana's example, had driven back the Sith warriors. Several lay dead or unconscious, while the others retreated toward the still active gate. "Who sent you?" Diana demanded. "Who is this Dark Lord you serve?" Darth Malevolus's eyes blazed with hatred and fear. "You know nothing, Amazon. The gates are awakening across the galaxy. Ancient evils stir. The Rakata left. Guardians, beings like you, from beyond. You were the first. Others will follow. And when they do, this galaxy will burn." He pressed something on his armor. Energy surged through his body, a self-destruct mechanism that Jedi precognition should have detected. But Diana, standing closest, had no force warning. She barely managed to leap back as Darth Malevolus detonated, his body consumed in a blast of dark side energy that knocked everyone nearby off their feet. When the smoke cleared, the Sith was gone. His warriors lay dead or dying, and the gate, damaged by the explosion, flickered and went dark, possibly permanently. Diana stood slowly, helping Master Karana T to her feet. The Jedi looked at her with new understanding and new fear. "You defeated a Sith Lord," Master Karana T said quietly, "alone, without the Force." "I am a warrior," Diana replied simply. "It is what I was born to be." Master Vrook approached, his expression grave. The Sith spoke of other gates, other guardians. If he was telling the truth, then this is only the beginning, Diana finished. She looked at the darkened gate, at the Jedi gathering their wounded, at the alien sky above this alien world. "I came here by accident, seeking knowledge, but it seems fate, or the Force, or the gods has other plans." She turned to face the assembled Jedi, her voice carrying the authority of an Amazon princess and the conviction of a champion who had never surrendered in the face of evil. "I will help you, not because I serve your order or your republic, but because innocent lives are at stake. If these gates are awakening, if ancient evils are returning, then we must stand together. Jedi and Amazon, light and divine power. Show me these other gate locations. Teach me about this galaxy's threats, and I will teach you what it means to fight like the gods themselves are watching." Master Vrook studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "The Republic will want to know of this attack. Senator Organa has been investigating Rakata artifacts. We should travel to Coruscant, present your testimony to the Senate and the High Council." "Coruscant?" Diana asked. "The galactic capital," Sarah explained, excitement breaking through her usual Jedi calm. "The heart of the Republic. Billions of beings from thousands of worlds. The Jedi Temple stands there, the center of our order." Diana looked once more at the gate that had brought her here, now silent and dark. She had come seeking answers and found war instead. The divine gifts of the Amazons were about to be tested against an entire galaxy's worth of threats. "Then, let us go to Coruscant," Diana said. "Let us see what this Republic is worth fighting for." The Republic cruiser emerged from hyperspace above Coruscant, and Diana understood for the first time the true scale of the galaxy she had entered. The planet below wasn't a world, it was a city. One endless, unbroken city that covered the entire surface, stretching from pole to pole in layers of metal, transparent steel, and light. Billions of structures rose into the atmosphere, some piercing the clouds themselves. Traffic lanes filled the sky like rivers of light, thousands of ships flowing in organized chaos between the towers. Diana had seen mighty cities in her time, Athens, Rome, the skylines of man's world, but nothing, absolutely nothing had prepared her for this. Impressive, yes? Master Karana T stood beside her at the viewport, a slight smile on her face as she watched Diana's reaction. The galactic capital, 25,000 years of continuous habitation, over 1 trillion permanent residents, with billions more visiting at any given time. Diana could only nod, momentarily speechless. The sheer audacity of building a world entirely of civilization was both magnificent and troubling. Where is the Earth, the forests, the oceans? Buried beneath 5,000 levels of construction, Sarah answered from behind them. Some say the original surface still exists deep below. Others claim it was consumed entirely. The planet is urban archaeology. The deeper you go, the further back in time. The cruiser descended through traffic lanes that were managed by systems Diana couldn't begin to understand. They passed corporate towers bearing logos of trading companies that controlled entire sectors, government buildings adorned with the Republic's symbol, residential districts where millions lived in structures that could house the entire population of Themyscira 100 times over. Finally, they approached a structure that dominated even Coruscant's impressive skyline, the Jedi Temple. 5 spires rose toward the sky, arranged around a central ziggurat of pale stone that seemed to glow with inner light. Even from a distance, Diana could sense something about the place. Not the Force, which remained imperceptible to her, but a weight of history and purpose that reminded her of the temples on Themyscira. 10,000 years old, Master Vrook said, joining them at the viewport. His voice carried pride mixed with solemnity. Built on the site of an ancient Force nexus, the heart of the Jedi Order. They docked at one of the temple's landing platforms, where a delegation waited. Diana counted at least 20 Jedi, including several whose bearing and elaborate robes suggested significant authority. Behind them stood Republic guards in ceremonial armor and what appeared to be protocol droids, mechanical beings that Diana found simultaneously fascinating and unsettling. Master Vrook led their group down the ramp. Diana walked beside Master Karana T, very aware that every eye was upon her. She wore her armor, red and gold, bearing the Eagle of the Gods, and carried her weapons openly. There had been discussion about whether she should appear less martial for this meeting, but Diana had been adamant. She was a warrior. She would not hide what she was to make politicians comfortable. An elderly Jedi with kind eyes and a troubled expression stepped forward. Master Vrook, Master Karana T, welcome back to the temple, and this must be our guest from beyond the stars. Grand Master Zim, Master Vrook bowed respectfully. May I present Diana of Themyscira, Amazon princess, warrior, and inadvertent traveler through the Rakata Gate network. Diana inclined her head, a gesture of respect between equals rather than deference. Grand Master, I am honored to stand before the heart of the Jedi Order. Grand Master Zim's expression warmed slightly. The honor is ours. In 300 years of service to the Order, I have never encountered a being who exists so completely outside the Force. You are a mystery, Diana of Themyscira. And in these troubled times, I am uncertain whether mysteries are blessings or warnings. Before Diana could respond, a new voice cut through the gathering, sharp, political, tinged with suspicion. Grand Master, forgive the interruption, but the Senate has convened an emergency session regarding this matter. They wish to meet our mysterious visitor immediately. Diana turned to see a Twi'lek male in ornate robes approaching, flanked by more Republic guards. Unlike the Jedi's simple garments, his clothing spoke of wealth and power. His leku were adorned with golden rings, and his eyes assessed Diana with the calculating gaze of someone accustomed to evaluating threats and opportunities. Senator Zan, Grandmaster Zim said, his tone cooling noticeably. I was not aware the Senate intended to involve itself so quickly. The appearance of an unknown warrior, outside Force detection, arriving through ancient Sith technology, followed by a Sith attack on Dantooine. Senator Zan's smile didn't reach his eyes. The Senate has every right to be concerned. The Republic's security is at stake. Diana felt the tension between the Jedi and the Senator. Politics, it seemed, were universal, even across galaxies. She had navigated enough diplomatic situations to recognize a power struggle when she saw one. Senator, Diana said, her voice calm but firm. I am not Sith technology. I am a person, and I came through a Rakata Gate by accident, not design. If your Senate wishes to speak with me, I will answer their questions. But I am not a threat to be contained or a weapon to be controlled. Senator Zan's eyes narrowed. Of course not. No one suggested such things. But you must understand, Princess Diana, the Republic has enemies. The Sith are always lurking in shadows. Unknown variables must be assessed. Unknown variables like the Jedi themselves? Diana asked pointedly. You speak of them as if they are separate from your republic, yet I was told they serve as peacekeepers and diplomats. The division between you suggests a relationship more complex than alliance. Several Jedi exchanged glances, some showing surprise at Diana's perceptiveness. Senator Zan's smile became strained. The Jedi are valued, servants of the Republic. Their autonomy is traditional. Now, if you would accompany me to the Senate building, she will remain at the temple tonight, Grandmaster Zim interrupted, his voice carrying quiet authority. Tomorrow, we will present her testimony to both the Jedi High Council and the Senate together. This matter concerns both institutions, and both will be informed simultaneously. The senator's jaw tightened, but he clearly recognized a line he couldn't cross. Very well, Grandmaster. Tomorrow at noon, the Senate chamber. I trust you will ensure our guest understands the gravity of the situation. I understand perfectly, Diana said, before Grandmaster Zim could respond. Ancient technology is reactivating. The Sith are interested. And your republic is concerned about threats it cannot predict or control. These are reasonable fears, Senator. But understand this. I am not your enemy unless you make me one. I seek knowledge, a way home, and in the meantime, I will stand against evil wherever I find it. If your republic serves justice and protects the innocent, we are allies. If not, then we will have a different conversation. Senator Zan stared at her for a long moment, clearly unaccustomed to being addressed so directly. Finally, he nodded curtly. Tomorrow, then. I look forward to learning more about you, Princess Diana. He departed with his entourage, leaving Diana alone with the Jedi. Several of them were smiling, subtly, but Diana caught it. Apparently, watching Senator Zan being put in his place was not unwelcome entertainment. You make powerful statements, Diana of Themyscira, Grandmaster Zim observed. The Senate does not appreciate being challenged. Then perhaps they should govern in ways that need not be challenged, Diana replied. Grandmaster Zim's laugh was genuine, if brief. Come, the Council wishes to speak with you before tomorrow's spectacle, and I suspect you have many questions about the galaxy you find yourself in. The Jedi Temple's interior was as impressive as its exterior. Vast halls filled with light from windows that stretched 50 feet high. Meditation chambers where the air itself seemed to hum with tranquility. Training rooms where young Jedi practiced with training sabers under the watchful eyes of masters. Diana observed everything, her tactical mind cataloging exits, defensive positions, potential threats out of habit cultivated over centuries of conflict. They ascended through the temple's levels, finally reaching the council chamber itself, a circular room at the top of one of the 5 spires, with windows offering panoramic views of Coruscant's endless cityscape. 12 seats arranged in a circle, currently occupied by the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy. Diana recognized Master Vrook among them. The others were unfamiliar, but carried themselves with similar weight of experience and authority. As she entered, all eyes turned to her, assessing, measuring, trying to understand what their force sense could not comprehend. Diana of Themyscira, Grandmaster Zim said, taking his seat. We have read Master Vrook's report. We have reviewed the recordings from Dan Tween, but we wish to hear directly from you. Tell us everything, how you came to be here, what you know of the Rakata Gates, and what you believe this Darth Malevolus meant when he spoke of other Guardians. Diana took a breath and began. She told them of Themyscira, of the Amazon's mission to protect man's world from violence and hatred. She explained the hidden temple, the ancient symbols, the activation sequence she had inadvertently triggered. She described her transition through the gate, the brief glimpse of the network connecting countless worlds. When Darth Malevolus attacked, he called me a guardian, Diana continued. He said my kind was returning, that others would follow. But I am not a guardian of these gates. I didn't even know they existed until days ago. A Keldor Jedi, with breathing apparatus spoke, his voice filtered through the device. Yet you defeated a Sith Lord in single combat, without the Force, without precognition or enhanced speed or telekinetic power. How? Training, Diana said simply. I have fought for 3 centuries, Master. Plo Koon. Master Plo Koon. I was trained by the greatest warriors of Themyscira from the age of 7. I have fought gods and monsters, tyrants and demons. Darth Malevolus was powerful, yes. But power without wisdom is merely violence. And violence can be defeated by skill, by discipline, by refusing to yield to fear. 3 centuries? A human female Jedi leaned forward. You appear no older than 30 standard years. The blessings of the gods, Diana explained. I am immortal, ageless. I will not die of time, though I can be killed by violence. The council members exchanged significant looks. An immortal warrior who existed outside the Force was an unprecedented variable in their carefully maintained galaxy. Diana, Grandmaster Zim said carefully, we sense no darkness in you. Your conviction seems genuine, your mission honorable, but you must understand our position. The Jedi Order has maintained peace in this galaxy for millennia. We do so through understanding the Force, through predicting conflicts before they escalate, through subtle influence and diplomatic intervention. You are chaos, an unpredictable element that our most fundamental abilities cannot assess. Some on this council believe you represent a threat simply by existing. And what do you believe, Grandmaster? Diana asked. The elderly Jedi was silent for a long moment, his gaze distant. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of a difficult wisdom. I believe the Force brought you here for a reason, even if you exist outside it. The gates are awakening. That much is clear. The Sith show interest, which means ancient powers are stirring. We need allies who can face threats that our precognition cannot predict. But you fear I could become a threat myself, Diana finished. I understand. If I were in your position, I would feel the same caution. So I offer you this. Use your lasso of truth upon me. Question me under its compulsion. Let there be no doubt about my intentions. We witnessed its power on Dantooine, Master Vrook said, but we do not fully understand how it works. Diana drew the golden lasso, letting it gleam in the council chamber's light. It was forged by Hephaestus, god of the forge, and blessed by Hestia, goddess of truth. No being who touches it can lie. I offer myself to its judgment. Ask what you will, and the truth, complete and unvarnished, will be given. Grandmaster Zim descended from his seat, approaching Diana with measured steps. The other council members watched intently. This is unprecedented, he murmured, but these are unprecedented times. Diana wrapped the lasso around her own wrists, feeling the familiar compulsion settle over her consciousness. Ask, Grand Master, do you serve the Sith or any force of darkness? No. The answer came instantly, pulled from her by the lasso's power. Will you attempt to harm the Jedi Order or the Republic? Not unless they prove themselves servants of evil and tyranny. Diana felt the lasso parsing her intent, expressing the conditional nature of her answer with perfect honesty. What do you truly want? The question hit deeper. Diana felt the lasso reaching into her heart, exposing desires even she hadn't fully articulated. I want to understand these gates. I want to ensure they are not used to harm innocent beings. I want to find a way home to Themyscira, to my mother and my sisters. But more than any of that, I want to know that my accidental arrival in this galaxy serves some purpose. I cannot simply return home, knowing that ancient evils are awakening and I did nothing to stop them. It would betray everything the Amazons stand for. The honesty of it filled the chamber. Several council members nodded slowly, their doubt visibly easing. Grandmaster Zim's expression softened. Release yourself, Diana. We have heard enough. Diana unwound the lasso, returning it to her hip. The Grandmaster turned to face the council. My judgment is made. Diana of Themyscira is not our enemy. She is perhaps the ally we did not know we needed. I propose we offer her full cooperation in investigating the Rakata Gate network, with Jedi support and Republic resources. And what does she offer in return? Master Plo Koon asked. Diana answered before Grandmaster Zim could. My sword, my strength, my commitment to stand against evil in whatever form it takes in this galaxy. I cannot promise I will always agree with the Jedi philosophy or Republic policy, but I can promise that when innocent lives are threatened, when darkness rises, I will fight alongside you, not as your servant, but as your ally. The council voted. It was not unanimous. 3 masters abstained, their concerns about her unpredictability outweighing their appreciation for her honesty. But the majority carried. "Then it is decided," Grandmaster Zim said. "Diana of Themyscira, the Jedi Order recognizes you as an ally and grants you access to our archives, our resources, and our knowledge. Tomorrow, we present you to the Senate. After that, we begin investigating the Gate Network in earnest. The Force has brought you here for a reason. Let us discover what that reason is." As Diana left the council chamber, escorted by Sarah, who would show her to guest quarters, she felt the weight of what she had committed to. She was now entangled in galactic politics, ancient mysteries, and conflicts she barely understood. But the alternative, standing aside while innocent beings faced threats she could help stop, was unthinkable. The gates were awakening. The Sith were moving. And Diana of Themyscira, champion of truth and warrior of the gods, was about to learn that some battles transcended galaxies. The Senate chamber was a spectacle of democracy on a scale Diana had never imagined. Thousands of floating platforms filled the massive spherical chamber, each representing a world or sector of the Republic. They hovered in organized tiers around a central platform where speakers addressed the assembly. Senators from hundreds of species, humanoid, insectoid, aquatic, crystalline, filled those platforms, their voices creating a constant undercurrent of discussion that the chamber's acoustics somehow managed to organize into comprehensible order. Diana stood on the central platform beside Grand Master Zim and Senator Zan, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon her. The session had been called to order an hour ago, and she had listened to senators debate the implications of her arrival with varying degrees of rationality. Some saw opportunity, others saw threat. A few saw political advantage regardless of truth. "And what proof do we have?" a Quarren senator was saying, his facial tendrils quivering with agitation. "That this so-called Amazon princess is not a Sith infiltrator? She appears at a Rakata site. Sith attack immediately after, and we are to believe this is coincidence?" Diana had remained silent throughout most of the proceedings, as Grand Master Zim had advised, but this particular accusation demanded response. She stepped forward, her voice carrying through the chamber's amplification system. "Senator, I defeated the Sith who attacked Dantooine. I drove him and his warriors back through the gate. If I were his ally, that would have been an exceptionally poor strategy." Scattered laughter rippled through some of the platforms. The Quarren senator's skin darkened. Embarrassment or anger, Diana couldn't tell. "The Sith are masters of deception," the senator countered. "Perhaps this was theater to gain our trust." "Then you are welcome to test my honesty," Diana said, drawing the lasso of truth. The golden rope gleamed under the chamber's lights, and hundreds of senators leaned forward in interest. "This artifact compels absolute truth from any it binds. The Jedi Council has verified its power. I offer to submit to questioning under its influence. Ask me anything about my loyalty, my intentions, my purpose here. The lasso will permit no deception." Senator Zan's expression was unreadable, but he stepped forward smoothly. "An interesting offer, Princess Diana, but the Senate cannot base security decisions on artifacts we do not understand. We need verifiable evidence, not mysticism." "The Jedi use the Force to verify truth," a female human senator called out from a nearby platform. "Is that not also mysticism to those who cannot sense it?" Senator Organa of Alderaan speaking. "I move that we allow Princess Diana to demonstrate her lasso's properties. If it proves genuine, we can proceed with questioning. If not, we will know she attempted to deceive us." Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. Senator Zan looked less pleased but nodded. "Very well. Senator Organa, as proposer, you may conduct the initial test." The Alderaanian senator's platform floated closer to the central dais. Diana studied her, middle-aged, dressed in elegant but practical robes, with intelligent eyes that assessed situations with the same tactical awareness Diana recognized in fellow warriors. This was someone who had fought battles, even if political rather than martial. "Princess Diana," Senator Organa said formally, "please bind yourself with your lasso and answer my questions truthfully." Diana wrapped the golden rope around her wrists, feeling its familiar compulsion settle over her. "Ask, Senator. State your name and origin. I am Diana, Princess of Themyscira, daughter of Queen Hippolyta, created from clay and given life by the gods of Olympus." The words flowed without hesitation, complete honesty compelled by Hestia's blessing. Senator Organa nodded slowly. "Do you serve the Sith Empire or any of its agents?" "No." "Do you intend harm to the Galactic Republic or its citizens?" "Not unless the Republic proves itself tyrannical and evil, in which case I would oppose it as I oppose all tyranny." Diana felt the lasso expressing the nuance of her answer, the conditional loyalty that was the only honest response she could give. Several senators shifted uncomfortably. Absolute statements of loyalty were apparently expected, but the lasso would not permit comfortable lies. Senator Organa's lips curved slightly, perhaps approval of Diana's refusal to offer blind allegiance. "Why did you come through the Rakata Gate?" "I was investigating an ancient temple beneath my home. The gate activated unexpectedly. I crossed through seeking knowledge and understanding. The gate closed behind me, trapping me in this galaxy." "What do you know about the Rakata and their technology?" "Almost nothing. I have learned from Jedi archives that they were an ancient empire that fell thousands of years ago. The gates they built connected worlds across the galaxy. Beyond that, I am as ignorant as most beings in this chamber." The honesty of her admission seemed to surprise some senators. Diana watched political calculations play out across different species' faces. A warrior who admitted ignorance was either foolish or secure enough in her abilities to acknowledge limitations. "Final question," Senator Organa said. "If you discovered that Republic interests conflicted with protecting innocent lives, whose side would you take?" The chamber went silent. It was a brilliant question, one that would reveal whether Diana could be trusted to follow orders or whether she represented an unpredictable variable. Diana felt the lasso pulling the truth from her heart. "I would side with the innocent, always. I am not a soldier who follows orders without question. I am a warrior who fights for justice. If your republic serves justice and protects the weak, then our interests align. If it does not, then I will do what is right regardless of political convenience." The silence stretched. Then Senator Organa smiled, genuinely this time. "Thank you, Princess Diana. That is exactly the answer I hope to hear. I believe she is telling the truth, colleagues. And I believe we need more voices in this galaxy willing to prioritize innocent lives over political expediency." Diana unwound the lasso, returning it to her hip. Senator Zan stepped forward quickly, clearly trying to regain control of the proceedings. The Senate acknowledges Princess Diana's apparent honesty. However, the question remains, what do we do about these Rakata gates? If they are reactivating across the galaxy, they represent both opportunity and threat. "Opportunity?" Grandmaster Zim's voice carried warning. "Senator, the Rakata enslaved thousands of worlds. Their technology is dangerous." "Knowledge is never dangerous, Grandmaster, only its application." Senator Zan addressed the chamber at large now, playing to the crowd. "Think of what we could learn from a functioning gate network. Instantaneous travel between worlds without hyperspace, access to unknown regions, perhaps even connections to other galaxies. The Republic that controls this technology would become the dominant power in known space." Diana's warrior instincts flared. She recognized the tone, ambition dressed as pragmatism, hunger for power disguised as strategic thinking. "Senator," Diana said, her voice cutting through the rising murmur of interest, "I have seen what happens when ancient powers fall into the wrong hands. On my world, we guarded artifacts that could reshape reality, end civilizations, or unmake gods. We did not use them. We did not study them for advantage. We kept them locked away because some knowledge is too dangerous to pursue." "With respect, Princess," a Rhodian senator called out, "your world is a single island. We are a republic of thousands of worlds. The scale is incomparable, which makes the danger proportionally greater," Diana countered. "The Sith already showed interest in these gates. Darth Malevolus died rather than be captured. Whatever his master wants with this technology, it is worth killing and dying for. Do you truly believe your republic can control something the Sith are willing to sacrifice lives to obtain?" "The Jedi will help safeguard the technology," Senator Zan said smoothly. "No one suggests leaving the gates unprotected, but destroying them or sealing them without study would be short-sighted." Grandmaster Zim's expression was troubled. Diana realized the Jedi were politically vulnerable, servants of the Republic, but not controlled by it, respected but also resented for their autonomy. The Grand Master could not simply refuse the Senate's interest without risking a broader political conflict. Perhaps, Diana said carefully, we are asking the wrong question. Instead of debating whether to study the gates, we should be asking why they are reactivating now. What changed? What triggered them after millennia of dormancy? The chamber fell silent as senators considered this. Senator Organa leaned forward. An excellent point. Princess Diana, you triggered the gate on Themyscira by investigating it. Was there something specific you did? Diana thought back to that moment in the temple. I touched the symbols. They began to glow, to move, but I did nothing intentionally to activate the system. It was as if she paused, the realization hitting her. As if it was waiting for someone to find it, as if it recognized something about me and responded. Recognized what? Master Plo Koon asked from where he stood beside Grand Master Zim. Darth Malevolus called me a guardian, Diana said slowly, working through the implications. He said my kind was returning. What if the gates are not simply technology? What if they require specific beings to operate them? Beings from outside this galaxy? Outside the Force? The chamber erupted in discussion. Diana watched senators and Jedi alike grapple with the implications. If the gates required operators from beyond their galaxy, then her arrival was not random. It was part of a pattern. Grand Master Zim raised his hand for silence. Diana raises a disturbing possibility. The Rakata fell when they lost their connection to the Force. If their gate network was designed to function independently of Force sensitivity, operated by beings from other dimensions or galaxies, then the gates reactivating means others like Diana are coming through, Senator Organa finished, or will come through. The question is whether they will be allies or threats. A deep voice resonated through the chamber. A Wookiee senator, his words translated by his protocol droid. Senator Tarnuka of Kashyyyk asks, how do we prepare for unknowable variables? If these guardians exist outside the Force, the Jedi cannot predict their arrival or intentions. Diana appreciated the practical concern. You cannot predict us, that is true. But you can prepare by understanding the gates themselves. Not to use them, that is too dangerous, but to monitor them, to detect when they activate, to be ready to respond whether the arrival is friend or foe. A defensive strategy rather than exploitation, Senator Organa said approvingly. I support this approach. We study the gates only enough to detect and respond to their activation. We do not attempt to use them or reverse engineer their technology. That is a waste of potential, Senator Zan objected. The Republic has enemies, the Sith, pirates, the corporate guilds pushing boundaries of known space. We need every advantage. The Sith are your enemies precisely because they pursued power without wisdom, Diana said, her voice hard. Do not make their mistakes, Senator. I have watched civilizations fall because they reached for power they could not control. The gates are a trap for the ambitious. Resist the temptation. The debate continued for another hour. Diana answered questions about her world, her abilities, her understanding of the gates. She was careful to be honest. The lasso's demonstration had set that expectation, but also strategic. She revealed nothing that could be used to exploit Themyscira, nothing that could turn her into a weapon for Republic interests. Finally, Supreme Chancellor Thaxon, an elderly Bith with a commanding presence despite his small stature, called for a vote. The Senate must decide, do we pursue Senator Zan's proposal for full study and potential utilization of the Rakata Gate network, or Senator Organa's proposal for defensive monitoring only? The vote was closer than Diana would have liked. Many senators saw opportunity rather than danger, but Senator Organa's coalition, Alderaan, Kashyyyk, Naboo, and dozens of other worlds, carried the majority. The Republic would monitor the gates, but not attempt to use them. Senator Zan accepted the decision with grace that Diana suspected was entirely political theater. He approached her after the session concluded, his smile calculating. A remarkable performance, Princess Diana. You have made powerful friends today. Senator Organa is well respected, and her support will serve you well. I do not seek friends, Senator. I seek truth and justice. In galactic politics, those concepts are rarely as clear as you imagine. Senator Zan lowered his voice. But I hope you will remember that not all who question your presence are enemies. Some of us simply believe in being cautious with unknowns. Diana met his gaze steadily. Caution is wisdom, but ambition disguised as caution is simply dishonesty. I have met many politicians, Senator Zan. I know the difference. His smile didn't waver, but something cold flashed in his eyes. Enjoy the Jedi's hospitality, Princess. I suspect we will speak again. As he departed, Senator Organa approached. That was either very brave or very foolish. Senator Zan is powerful, and he holds grudges. Then he can hold a grudge against someone who will not be intimidated by political games, Diana replied. Tell me, Senator, do you trust your republic? The question seemed to surprise Organa. She considered it carefully before answering. I trust what the republic is supposed to be. Whether I trust what it is becoming, that is a more complicated question. There are factions, Princess Diana. Those who believe in democracy and justice, and those who see the republic as a tool for accumulating power. The balance between them grows more precarious every year. Then perhaps I arrived at an opportune time, Diana said. I have some experience with preventing the powerful from oppressing the weak. Senator Organa's smile was approving. I believe you and I will work well together. The Jedi may have granted you access to their archives, but if you need political support, resources, or simply someone who understands how this galaxy actually functions beyond Force philosophy, you may call on Alderaan. They exchanged what Diana learned was a holocom frequency, a communication device that would allow contact across star systems. As Senator Organa departed, Diana found herself alone on the central platform, looking up at the thousands of Senate pods slowly emptying. This galaxy was vast beyond comprehension. Its politics were labyrinthine. Its threats were ancient and numerous, but Diana had faced gods and demons, had stood against tyranny in all its forms. She would do the same here. The gates were awakening. The Sith were interested. And somewhere in the vast Republic bureaucracy, Senator Zan and others like him were already planning how to exploit the situation for personal gain. Diana of Themyscira had committed herself to stopping ancient evils from using the Rakata gates. She had not expected that some of those evils would wear the respectable face of Senate representation. But then, evil rarely announced itself honestly. That was why warriors like her were needed. The Jedi archives were a cathedral of knowledge that spanned 10 levels of the temple's vast structure. Diana walked among shelves containing holocrons from civilizations that had risen and fallen millennia before her birth. Holographic displays showed star charts of the known galaxy. 400 billion stars, thousands of documented civilizations, and vast regions still unexplored. The scale of it was humbling even for an immortal warrior who had witnessed 3,000 years of human history. Looking for something specific, Sarah appeared beside her, carrying a stack of data cards. The young Jedi had appointed herself Diana's unofficial guide, a role Diana suspected was as much about satisfying curiosity as offering hospitality. Everything, Diana admitted. I need to understand this galaxy's history, its conflicts, its power structures. On Themyscira, we studied warfare, diplomacy, philosophy, but nothing prepared me for a civilization spanning thousands of worlds. Sarah gestured to a nearby study alcove. Let me help. What do you want to know first? Over the next hours, Diana absorbed information at a pace that surprised even the scholarly Jedi. She learned of the Jedi-Sith conflicts that had raged for millennia, philosophical wars about the nature of the Force, whether emotion was strength or weakness, whether peace required suppressing passion or embracing it. She studied the Republic's structure, its layers of bureaucracy, its constant struggle to balance local autonomy with galactic governance. But what interested Diana most were the gaps, the things the archives hinted at but did not explain. The dark side, Diana said, pointing to a holocron discussing Sith philosophy. The Jedi describe it as corruption, as evil, but the Sith see it as liberation, as embracing natural passion. Who is right? Sarah's answer came quickly, rehearsed from years of training. The dark side leads to suffering, fear, anger, hatred. These emotions cloud judgment and lead to tyranny. But suppressing all emotion leads to detachment, Diana countered gently. The Jedi Code forbids attachment, love, family. On Themyscira, we believe love makes warriors stronger, The desire to protect those we care about gives us reason to fight, to endure, to sacrifice. Sarah's expression became troubled. Master Yoda says attachment leads to fear of loss. Fear of loss leads to anger. Anger leads to the dark side. Or, Diana suggested, love leads to courage. Courage leads to sacrifice. Sacrifice leads to protecting others. The path is not predetermined, Sarah. It depends on the choices we make along the way. The young Jedi had no response to that. Diana could see the conflict in her eyes, years of training colliding with an alternative perspective that challenged foundational beliefs. It reminded Diana of her own early days in man's world, when she had discovered that absolute truths were rarer than the gods had taught her. A chime interrupted their discussion. Master Karana T appeared in the alcove entrance, her expression grave. Diana, the council requests your presence, immediately. There has been another activation. They rushed through the temple corridors to the council chamber. The circular room was filled with Jedi Masters, but also Republic military officers and Senator Organa. Holographic displays showed a star map with 3 points highlighted in pulsing red. Grand Master Zim gestured to the display. 4 hours ago, 3 Rakata gates activated simultaneously. Here on Lihon, here on Korriban, and here on Ziost. Each activation lasted approximately 30 seconds before going dormant again. Diana studied the locations. What are these worlds? Lihon is the Rakata homeworld, Master Plo Koon explained. Abandoned for millennia, the ruins there are extensive but considered too dangerous for settlement. Korriban and Ziost are Sith worlds, Master Vrook added, his tone dark. Ancient seats of Sith power, both are currently uninhabited, officially. But the Sith have always maintained a presence in those regions. 3 gates activate at once, Diana said, working through the implications. Not random, someone is testing the network, measuring its capabilities. A Republic admiral, human, with the bearing of career military, stepped forward. We have ships en route to all 3 locations, but if the Sith are indeed operating on Korriban and Ziost, our forces may be walking into an ambush. Then we need someone who can operate independently, who the Sith cannot sense through the Force, Senator Organa said, looking directly at Diana. Someone who has already proven she can defeat Sith warriors in combat. Diana felt the political maneuvering, even as she recognized the tactical sense. You want me to investigate these sites? We want you to lead an investigation, Grandmaster Zim corrected. You would be accompanied by Jedi Knights and Republic military specialists. But, yes, your unique status makes you invaluable for this mission. Which site? Diana asked. Lihon, Master Karana T said. The homeworld. If we are to understand the Gate Network, we must study it at its source. Korriban and Ziost are too politically volatile. The Sith would see any Republic presence as an act of war. Diana considered the proposal. She had come to this galaxy by accident, but every step since had pulled her deeper into its conflicts. The gates were her responsibility now. She had activated the first one, and Darth Malevolus had died, claiming she was part of some larger pattern. I will go, Diana said, but on certain conditions. First, I command the ground team. I have more combat experience than anyone in this room, and I will not take orders that contradict my tactical judgment. Several military officers bristled, but Grandmaster Zim nodded. Acceptable. The Jedi are not soldiers, and the Republic military has limited experience with Force-adjacent phenomena. Your command, authority will be respected. Second condition, Diana continued, if we discover something dangerous at the gate, something that threatens innocent lives, I will destroy it rather than allow it to be studied or exploited, no matter what the Republic or Senate wants. This caused more concern. The Admiral spoke up. Princess Diana, with respect, you cannot unilaterally decide to destroy Republic assets. Ancient Sith technology that enslaved civilizations is not a Republic asset, Admiral. It is a galactic threat. And I will not allow ambition to blind this Republic the way it has blinded every empire I have encountered throughout history. Senator Organa intervened smoothly. Perhaps we can agree that decisions regarding potentially dangerous discoveries will be made by consensus between Diana, the Jedi representatives, and Republic Command. Not unilaterally, but through discussion. Diana considered this. It was a reasonable compromise, though she suspected consensus would become complicated in practice. Still, it acknowledged her concerns while maintaining some structure. Acceptable, Diana agreed. When do we depart? 4 hours, Master Karana T said. We are assembling a team now. Master Plo Koon and I will accompany you as Jedi representatives. The Republic is providing a light cruiser with a squad of their best soldiers, and Serah has volunteered to join the expedition. Diana glanced at the young Jedi, who met her gaze with determination. I can help. I have studied Rakata technology more than most Jedi my age, and someone needs to make sure you understand the Force perspective on what we discover. Or, Diana said with slight humor, someone wants to escape temple routine for an adventure. Sarah's cheeks colored, but she didn't deny it. Grandmaster Zim's expression softened. Sarah has earned the right to accompany this mission. She passed her trials 2 months ago. This will be valuable experience. The meeting continued, covering logistics and contingencies. Diana half listened while studying the star map. 3 gates activating simultaneously suggested coordination, planning. Someone was preparing something, and the Rakata network was central to their plans. After the briefing, Diana returned to her guest quarters to prepare. She was checking her weapons, sword, shield, lasso, bracers, when a knock came at her door. Senator Organa entered without waiting for invitation. A habit Diana suspected came from decades of political authority. May I speak with you before you depart? Of course, Senator. Organa settled into a chair, studying Diana with that same assessing gaze she had used in the Senate chamber. You made an enemy of Senator Zan. That was unwise. I made an enemy of ambition dressed as governance, Diana corrected. If that creates political difficulties, so be it. Diana, Organa said, her tone almost gentle, I appreciate your commitment to principle, truly. But this galaxy is not as simple as good versus evil. There are thousands of competing interests, species with different values, cultures that prioritize collective good over individual freedom, or vice versa. The Republic holds together through compromise, negotiation, and yes, sometimes through political maneuvering that seems distasteful to idealists. Are you suggesting I should be more flexible with my principles? I am suggesting, Organa said carefully, that you learn to distinguish between enemies and potential allies who simply approach problems differently. Senator Zan is ambitious, yes, but he also genuinely believes the Republic needs strength to survive its enemies. His methods may be questionable, but his ultimate goal, preserving the Republic, aligns with yours. Diana sat across from the senator. On Themyscira, we have a saying, the path to darkness is paved with good intentions justified by fear. Senator Zan may believe he serves the Republic, but his desire to control the gates comes from hunger, for power, not wisdom. I have seen it before, Senator Organa. I have watched kings and emperors tell themselves they pursued power for noble reasons, only to become the very tyrants they claim to oppose. Organa was silent for a long moment. You are not wrong, but you are also not entirely right. Politics requires pragmatism. Idealism without flexibility becomes rigidity, and rigid systems break under pressure. Then let me be flexible where wisdom allows, Diana replied. But on matters of fundamental principle, on protecting innocent lives, on preventing the powerful from exploiting the weak, I will be as rigid as steel. That is not negotiable, Senator. A smile touched Organa's lips. I suppose I should not expect an immortal warrior blessed by gods to compromise easily. Very well, Diana. I will not lecture you further on political nuance, but I will offer this. When you return from Lihon, come to Alderaan. Let me show you what the Republic can be at its best. A world that has maintained peace through diplomacy for generations, that values culture and education over military might. Perhaps it will give you more faith in what we are trying to preserve. Perhaps it will, Diana agreed. I would welcome the opportunity to see more of this galaxy beyond battlefields and political chambers. Organa stood to leave, then paused at the door. Diana, thank you for being here. I know you came through that gate by accident, but I cannot help feeling that the Force or your gods timed your arrival perfectly. The Republic needs voices like yours, voices willing to speak uncomfortable truths to power. After the senator departed, Diana finished her preparations in thoughtful silence. She was being drawn deeper into this galaxy's politics, its conflicts, its ancient mysteries. Part of her longed for the simplicity of Themyscira, where right and wrong were clear, where the mission was simply to train and protect. But another part, the part that had left paradise, island to fight in man's world, recognized that this was where she was needed, not on a peaceful island, but in the complicated, messy reality where good people struggled against their own flaws as much as against external enemies. 4 hours later, Diana stood in the temple hangar as the Republic cruiser powered up its engines. The ship was sleek and military in design, bristling with weapons, but also equipped with scientific instruments for studying the gate. Master Karana T and Master Plo Koon waited at the boarding ramp, their robes fluttering in the backwash from the engines. Sarah rushed up at the last moment, carrying additional equipment. "Sorry, I was getting extra recording devices. If we find active Rakata technology, the archives will want complete documentation." Diana smiled at the young Jedi's enthusiasm. "Then, let us go discover what secrets the Rakata left behind, and hope that we are ready for whatever we find." The cruiser lifted off, climbing through Coruscant's traffic lanes toward the orbital jump point. As the temple shrank below them, Diana felt the familiar weight of entering unknown danger. She had done this hundreds of times, walked into situations where violence was likely and death was possible. But this time felt different. This time, she was not just fighting for her world or her people. She was fighting for an entire galaxy that she barely understood, against threats that existed outside her experience. The gates were awakening, ancient powers were stirring, and Diana of Themyscira was about to discover that some mysteries were best left buried. Lihan emerged from hyperspace like a jewel of turquoise and green, its oceans reflecting the light of a dying red giant star. Diana stood on the cruiser's bridge, watching the planet grow larger on the view screen. From orbit, it appeared pristine. Endless seas dotted with archipelagos, no visible cities or signs of civilization. But the sensor readings told a different story. Massive. Energy signatures emanated from beneath the waves and within the jungles, the technological ghosts of an empire that had died millennia ago. "The Rakata homeworld," Master Plo Koon said, his voice filtered through his breathing apparatus. "Once the center of the most powerful civilization in galactic history. Now, nothing but ruins and cautionary tales." "What happened to them?" Diana asked. "The archives said a plague severed their force connection, but surely a civilization this advanced could survive such a loss." "They built everything on force-powered technology," Master Karana T explained. "When the plague struck, their ships stopped flying, their weapons stopped functioning, their planetary infrastructure collapsed. Within a generation, they descended from galactic conquerors to tribal survivors, fighting over scraps of dead technology." Diana studied the planet with new understanding, an entire civilization brought down by dependence on a single power source. It was a lesson in hubris that resonated across galaxies. "Sensors detect the primary gate complex," the ship's captain announced. "Eastern archipelago, partially submerged temple structure, reading massive power fluctuations. The gate is active or preparing to activate." "Take us down," Diana ordered. "Landing zone 300 meters from the complex, close enough for rapid response, far enough to avoid immediate danger if the site proves hostile." The Republic soldiers, 12 veterans led by a grizzled sergeant named Corvus, began final equipment checks. They wore armor that reminded Diana of ancient Spartan warriors, though far more sophisticated. Their weapons were blaster rifles with enough firepower to punch through durasteel, yet they moved with the discipline of professional soldiers who understood that firepower without tactics was merely noise. The cruiser descended through Lihan's atmosphere, buffeted by tropical winds that carried the scent of alien vegetation and salt water. Diana could see the ruins now, massive stone structures rising from the ocean, connected by causeways that had somehow survived millennia of erosion. The architecture was both beautiful and unsettling, featuring geometric patterns that seemed to shift perspective depending on viewing angle. They landed on a stone platform large enough to accommodate the cruiser. The moment the boarding ramp extended, Diana felt it, a presence that pressed against her consciousness like divine attention, but alien, mechanical, wrong. The Force users must have felt it too, because all 3 Jedi stiffened. "The dark side is strong here," Master Karana T said quietly. "The Rakata built this place using Sith teachings. The corruption remains even after all this time." Diana descended the ramp first, shield raised and senses alert. The air was thick with humidity, and the sound of waves crashing against ancient stone. Vegetation had reclaimed much of the complex. Vines covered walls, trees grew through broken domes, and the jungle seemed intent on erasing all evidence that the Rakata had ever existed. "Spread out, establish perimeter," Sergeant Corvass ordered his troops. "Sensors up, eyes open. If something moves, I want to know about it before it gets within 50 meters. Diana led the main group toward the temple complex. Sarah stayed close, her datapad recording everything, while Master Karana T and Master Plo Koon flanked them, lightsabers ready but not ignited. The path was overgrown but still discernible, wide enough for vehicles, suggesting this had once been a major thoroughfare. The gate structure loomed ahead, rising from the ocean like a titan's crown. Unlike the buried temple on Themyscira, this one was fully exposed, a massive ring of dark metal inscribed with the same shifting symbols Diana had seen before. But this ring was easily twice the size of the one she had discovered, and it was clearly functional. Energy crackled across its surface in patterns that suggested active technology rather than dormant artifact. "Incredible," Sarah breathed, her datapad frantically recording. "The power readings are off scale. This gate is operational, fully powered. It could activate at any moment." "Why now?" Diana wondered aloud. What changed after millennia of dormancy? Master Plo Koon approached the gate cautiously, reaching out with the Force. Diana watched his body language shift, tension, concern, then something resembling fear. "I sense connections. This gate is linked to others across the galaxy, hundreds of them, and something is accessing the network, something powerful." A voice echoed across the ruins, amplified by technology Diana couldn't see. "The Guardian has arrived. Excellent!" Diana spun, shield raised and sword drawn. The Jedi ignited their lightsabers in a chorus of humming energy. Sergeant Corvus and his troops formed a defensive perimeter, weapons trained on the surrounding ruins. From the temple shadows emerged a figure, humanoid, but clearly not entirely organic. Half of its face was metal, cybernetic implants visible beneath synthetic skin. Its eyes glowed with red light, and it moved with predatory grace that suggested extensive combat modifications. "I am Darth Vindicus," the cyborg Sith announced, "apprentice to the Dark Lord who sees the pattern in chaos. You, Amazon, are that pattern's first threat." "Another Sith?" Diana said, her voice hard. "Your predecessor died badly. Learn from his mistake." Darth Vindicus laughed, a sound distorted by cybernetic vocal enhancements. Malevolus was impatient, foolish. He attacked when he should have observed. I, however, have been watching. I know what you are, Diana of Themyscira. I know why the gates respond to you. "Then enlighten us," Master Karana T said, her lightsaber held in perfect defensive form. "The Rakata did not build the gate network," Darth Vindicus said, beginning to circle the group like a predator assessing prey. "They discovered it, inherited it from a civilization that predated the Force itself, a civilization that existed across multiple realities, multiple galaxies. They called themselves the Architects, and they built the gates to connect not just worlds, but universes." Diana felt ice run through her veins. Multiple universes. The implications were staggering. "The Architects needed guardians," the Sith continued. "Beings who existed outside the local reality's fundamental forces. Beings who could operate the gates without being bound by them. When the Architects vanished, the gates went dormant, waiting for their guardians to return." "And I am one of these guardians?" Diana asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. "You are the first to arrive in this cycle, but you will not be the last. The gates are awakening across the galaxy, across multiple galaxies, calling to those who bear the Architect's mark. The ability to exist outside the Force, outside local physics, outside fate itself." Master Plo Koon stepped forward. "If this is true, why do the Sith care? What is your master planning?" Darth Vindicus's cybernetic eye focused on the Jedi with disturbing intensity. "My master understands what the Jedi refuse to accept, that the Force is merely one form of cosmic energy among infinite others. The Architects harnessed powers beyond the Force. Their gate network can access those powers, control the network, control powers that make the dark side seem like a candle beside a sun. So you want to use me," Diana said flatly, "to operate the gates, to access this power." I want to offer you a choice, Darth Vindicus corrected. The Jedi will try to shut down the network. The Republic will try to control it. Both paths lead to the same end. The gates destroyed or locked away, and you trapped in this galaxy forever, separated from your home. Diana felt the manipulation in his words, but also the uncomfortable truth. She had considered that the Republic might not allow her to return home, if it meant losing access to the gate network. But my master offers alliance, the Sith continued. Help us understand the Architect's technology. Help us access the full network. In exchange, we will send you home to Themyscira with our gratitude and the resources to ensure your world remains protected from all threats. A generous offer, Diana said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. And all I have to do is give the Sith access to reality-altering power. Forgive me if I decline to help you enslave the galaxy. Darth Vindicus's expression hardened. Then you choose conflict. Unfortunate. My master predicted you would be too rigid to see opportunity. The Sith raised his hand, and the jungle exploded with violence. Battle droids emerged from the ruins, sleek, deadly machines armed with blaster cannons and vibroblades. Dozens of them, moving with coordinated precision that spoke of advanced tactical programming. Simultaneously, the gate behind them surged with energy, its symbols locking into sequence. "Defensive formation!" Sergeant Corvass bellowed. His troops opened fire, blaster bolts illuminating the ruins in strobing light. Battle droids fell, but more kept coming. Diana charged forward, using her shield to deflect incoming fire, while her sword cleaved through metal and circuitry. The droids were formidable but predictable, targeting patterns based on threat assessment, movements following programmed efficiency. She had fought countless mechanized enemies in man's world. These were just more sophisticated versions of the same threat. Master Karana T and Master Plo Koon became whirlwinds of blue and orange light, their lightsabers deflecting blaster fire back into the droid formations. The Force allowed them to anticipate incoming shots, to move with superhuman speed and precision. Diana watched them fight with professional appreciation. They were masters of their craft, as skilled in their way as the greatest Amazon warriors. Sarah stayed near the Republic troops, using the Force to shield them from particularly heavy barrages. The young Jedi was less experienced in combat, but made up for it with raw determination and tactical intelligence, directing fire toward droid vulnerabilities that her Force senses detected. But Darth Vindicus was the true threat. The Sith Lord moved through the battle like death incarnate, his red lightsaber carving through Republic soldiers with contemptuous ease. His cybernetic enhancements gave him speed beyond natural limits, and his mastery of the dark side allowed him to hurl soldiers aside with telekinetic force, to choke them with invisible hands, to call down lightning that burned through armor. Diana intercepted him before he could kill another trooper, her sword meeting his lightsaber in a clash of energies that should have been impossible. The God-Killer blade should have shattered against plasma hot enough to cut through Durasteel. Instead, the divine metal held, blessed by Hephaestus to withstand any assault. "Impossible!" Darth Vindicus snarled, genuine shock breaking through his cybernetic calm. "Your technology is impressive," Diana said, pressing her attack. "Your dark side powers are formidable, but I have fought gods, Sith. You are merely ambitious." They dueled across the ruins, Diana's Amazon combat techniques meeting Sith lightsaber forms, in a display of skill that drew the attention of everyone on the battlefield. Darth Vindicus was faster with Force enhancement, but Diana had centuries of experience and divine reflexes that matched his augmented speed. His precognition showed him her attacks before they came, but her existence outside the Force meant those visions were imperfect, incomplete. Behind them, the gate completed its activation sequence. The vertical pool of energy stabilized, showing glimpses of another world, a planet of red deserts and black pyramids that radiated dark side energy even through the portal. "Korriban!" Master Plo Koon shouted. "The gate is linking to Korriban. If Sith forces come through..." Diana made her decision in an instant. She disengaged from Darth Vindicus, sprinting toward the gate while deflecting incoming fire with her bracers. The Sith Lord pursued, but Master Karana T intercepted him, buying Diana precious seconds. She reached the gate's control mechanism, a crystalline panel covered in those shifting symbols. Diana pressed her hand against it, and the gate responded to her touch exactly as the one on Themyscira had. She could feel the network, sense its vast extent, understand intuitively how to manipulate it. With a mental command, she shut it down. The portal collapsed, the energy dissipating in a cascade of light. The sudden loss of power feedback surged through the system, causing explosions across the temple complex. Ancient mechanisms that had survived millennia failed catastrophically, and the massive gate structure began to collapse. "Retreat!" Diana commanded. "Back to the ship!" The Republic troops fell back in good order, covering each other while Sarah used the Force to hold falling debris away from their escape route. The Jedi Masters moved with them, still deflecting blaster fire from the remaining droids. Darth Vindicus stood in the center of the collapsing temple, his red lightsaber illuminating his expression of pure fury. "You have merely delayed the inevitable, Amazon. The gates will open, the Guardians will come, and when they do, you will regret choosing the wrong side." A massive stone column fell between them, blocking Diana's view of the Sith Lord. She didn't waste time with response. Retreat was more important than final words. They reached the ship as the temple's main structure collapsed completely, sending up a plume of dust and debris that obscured the entire complex. "Get us airborne!" Diana ordered as soon as the boarding ramp sealed. The cruiser lifted off, engines straining against the sudden atmospheric turbulence caused by the temple's collapse. Diana watched through the view screen as the ruins, thousands of years of Rakata architecture, crumbled into the ocean. "You destroyed it," Sergeant Corvus said, his tone neutral but his eyes questioning. "An irreplaceable archaeological site. The Republic Command will not be pleased." "The Republic can lodge their complaints," Diana replied. "That gate was about to become an invasion route for Sith forces. I chose preventing war over preserving ruins." Master Plo Koon approached, his usual calm demeanor shaken. "Diana, what Darth Vindicus said about the architects, about multiple Guardians arriving, do you believe it?" Diana met his gaze steadily. "I do not know, but I know that I came through a gate that responded to my touch. I know that the Sith are desperate to control this network, and I know that if what he said is true, this galaxy is about to receive visitors from beyond its borders. Whether they will be allies or enemies remains to be seen." As the cruiser jumped to hyperspace, leaving Lihan behind, Diana stood alone in the observation deck and considered the implications. She had come to this galaxy by accident, but Darth Vindicus's words suggested it was no accident at all. The gates had been waiting for someone like her, waiting for Guardians who existed outside the Force. And if she was the first to arrive, what would the others be like? Would they share her commitment to justice? Or would they bring their own agendas, their own conflicts, their own forms of power that this galaxy had no context to understand or resist? Diana touched the window, looking out at the swirling colors of hyperspace. Somewhere out there, across the vast network of gates, other Guardians might be awakening, other beings from other realities, stepping through doorways between worlds. The galaxy was about to become far more complicated, and Diana of Themyscira was standing at the center of it all, whether she wanted to be or not. The Jedi Council convened an emergency session 36 hours after the Lihan mission, and Diana quickly learned that destroying ancient Rakata temples created significant political complications. 8 senators have filed formal protests, Grand Master Zim said wearily, displaying a holographic list of complaints. "They claim you exceeded your authority, destroyed invaluable archaeological resources, and made decisions that should have required Senate approval." Diana stood in the center of the council chamber, arms crossed, unrepentant. "I prevented a Sith invasion force from entering through an active gate. If those senators would prefer I had allowed Darth Vindicus to bring an army from Korriban, they are welcome to explain that to the families of the soldiers who would have died. The Senate does not see it so simply." Senator Zan's voice came through a holocom projection. He had not attended in person, but his presence loomed nonetheless. "You were sent to investigate Princess Diana, not to unilaterally destroy Republic assets. The gate could have been secured, studied, controlled." "Controlled?" Diana's voice carried dangerous edge. "Senator, I have met 2 Sith Lords since arriving in your galaxy. Both were willing to die rather than abandon their pursuit of the Gate network. When your enemies are that committed, you do not secure and study their objective. You eliminate it." Master Vrook leaned forward. Diana makes a valid tactical point. The Sith clearly have extensive knowledge of the Rakata network. Any gate we attempted to secure would become a target for assault. Then we destroy all of them, Master Plo Koon said quietly. If the gates cannot be secured, and if they represent such strategic vulnerability, we should locate and eliminate every gate structure across the known galaxy. The suggestion hung in the air like a death sentence. Diana felt conflicting emotions, relief that someone else recognized the threat, but also unease. If they destroyed all the gates, she might never find a way home to Themyscira. Senator Organa's hologram appeared beside Senator Zan's. A galaxy-wide campaign to destroy ancient artifacts? The political fallout would be catastrophic. Worlds claim ownership of ruins on their territory. Destroying them would be seen as Republic overreach, possibly even an act of aggression. Politics should not outweigh security, Diana said firmly. But security without political legitimacy breeds tyranny, Organa countered, not unkindly. Diana, I appreciate your directness, but the Republic cannot simply destroy whatever it deems dangerous without consent from member worlds. That is exactly the kind of unilateral action that erodes democratic governance. Diana recognized the trap. She was advocating for the very authoritarianism she opposed, making decisions for others without their consent, deciding what was too dangerous for civilizations to possess. It was a familiar paradox. How did one protect freedom without imposing restrictions? How did one safeguard democracy without sometimes overriding democratic processes? Then what do you propose, Senator? Diana asked. Wait while the Sith activate gates across the galaxy? Form committees to study the threat while innocent beings die? Before Organa could respond, alarms erupted throughout the temple. Jedi rushed to consoles as holographic displays lit up with urgent alerts. Grandmaster Zim's expression turned grave. Multiple gate activations, simultaneous, across 27 worlds. The map filled with red markers, gates coming online from the core worlds to the outer rim. Some were on populated planets, others in remote systems, but all activated within seconds of each other, suggesting coordinated control. Something is coming through, Master Karana T said, her eyes unfocused as she reached out through the Force. I sense confusion, fear, anger, but not dark side corruption. These presences are... The holocom channels erupted with panicked transmissions. Unidentified being emerged from ancient ruins on Naboo, exhibiting superhuman abilities. Reports from Corellia of an individual in strange armor, speaking unknown languages. Alderaan security requesting assistance. Unknown entity displaying powers inconsistent with Force capabilities. Diana felt ice grip her heart. Darth Vindicus's warning was coming true. The Guardians were arriving. We need to respond, Grandmaster Zim said. Jedi teams to each location, Republic security forces as backup. We must assess these arrivals, determine if they are threats or refugees, Diana interrupted. Like me, beings pulled through gates they didn't seek, stranded in a galaxy they don't understand. She thought of her own arrival, the confusion, the near conflict with the Jedi who found her, the suspicion she had faced. These new arrivals would experience the same disorientation, possibly worse if they lacked her diplomatic training or commitment to avoiding unnecessary violence. Some may be refugees, Master Vrook said darkly. Others may be exactly what Darth Vindicus promised, beings of immense power with their own agendas. We cannot assume benevolent intentions. Diana hated that he was right. Not all powerful beings were noble. She had fought gods who were petty and cruel, heroes from other worlds who had fallen to darkness. Power without wisdom was always dangerous, and beings pulled randomly from other realities would include both saints and monsters. I should be part of the response, Diana said. I understand what they are experiencing. I can communicate the situation, explain the risks. They will trust someone who has walked the same path. You cannot be in 27 places at once, Senator Zan pointed out. And your unique status does not make you an expert in managing first contact with interdimensional travelers. But she has insight the rest of us lack, Senator Organa argued. Diana, if you were to go to one location, which would you choose? Diana studied the map, analyzing the activations. Most were isolated incidents, single arrivals causing localized confusion. But one marker pulsed more intensely than others. Alderaan, Diana said. The readings show sustained gate activity. Not a single arrival, but multiple. If the Sith are coordinating something, it would be at the most active site. Alderaan is my home world, Senator Organa said, tension clear in her voice. Our security forces are well trained, but if this becomes a crisis, then I will contain it, Diana promised. With your permission, Senator, I will go to Alderaan immediately. Organa nodded. You have it. I will contact the Royal House, inform them of your arrival. They will provide any support you need. The Council moved quickly, organizing responses across the affected worlds. Jedi teams were dispatched with strict instructions. Observe, communicate, protect civilian populations, and only use force in genuine self-defense. The Republic military went to high alert, but Grandmaster Zim convinced them to hold back from immediate confrontation. Diana prepared for departure with grim efficiency. Sarah approached as she was checking her equipment in the temple armory. I want to come with you, the young Jedi said, to Alderaan. This could be dangerous, Sarah, more dangerous than Leihan. I know, but you said these arrivals will be confused, frightened. They will need someone who understands the Force to explain this galaxy's fundamental nature. And she hesitated. I want to see if your approach works. If compassion and understanding can work better than Jedi detachment. Diana studied the young woman, seeing the conflict in her eyes. Sarah was questioning her order's teachings, exploring alternatives to the rigid philosophy she had been raised with. It was both dangerous and necessary. Growth required questioning. Very well, Diana agreed. But you follow my lead. If I say retreat, we retreat. Understood? Understood. They departed within the hour aboard a Republic diplomatic vessel, faster than a cruiser, but unarmed to signal peaceful intentions. Master Karana T accompanied them, though she looked distinctly uncomfortable with the lack of defensive capabilities. I have fought in wars for 300 years, the Jedi Master said as they entered hyperspace. I have faced Sith assassins, rogue Force users, and planetary insurgencies, but I have never felt as uncertain as I do now. These Guardians, if that is what they are, represent unknown variables in a galaxy where the Jedi have spent millennia trying to create predictability. Predictability is an illusion, Diana said gently. The universe is chaos given form. All we can do is respond to each moment with wisdom and courage. That sounds exhausting. It is, but it is also honest. Your Jedi Order seeks to control the future through precognition and manipulation. My people accept that the future is unwritten and prepare ourselves to face whatever comes with honor. They emerged from hyperspace above Alderaan, a world of stunning beauty, its surface a mix of snow-capped mountains, verdant plains, and pristine oceans. Cities gleamed like jewels, architectural wonders that blended seamlessly with natural landscapes. Diana could see why Senator Organa spoke of it with such pride, but the serene beauty was marred by chaos in the capital city of Aldera. Smoke rose from the cultural district, and emergency response vessels swarmed toward a massive plaza near the royal palace. Multiple contacts detected, the pilot reported. 15 distinct energy signatures inconsistent with known Force manifestations. Security forces have established a perimeter, but report difficulty containing the situation. Diana moved to the bridge viewport, studying the scene below. She could see figures in the plaza, some humanoid, others decidedly not. Energy discharges lit up the area, and even from orbit. She could sense the confusion and fear. Take us down, Diana ordered. Public landing pad nearest the plaza. I want to approach on foot, visible and unarmed. Unarmed? Master Karana T questioned. I will carry my lasso and shield only, no sword. I want to show these arrivals that I am not attacking them. Sarah, keep your lightsaber holstered unless absolutely necessary. Master Karana T, can you suppress your Force presence? The Jedi Master nodded reluctantly. If you believe it will help. They landed 10 minutes later, where Alderaanian security forces had established a command post. A captain in ornate armor approached immediately. Princess Diana, Captain Raynar of the Royal Guard, Senator Organa sent word you were coming. The situation is deteriorating rapidly. We have at least 15 unknown individuals in the plaza, several exhibiting dangerous abilities. 3 are injured, 2 of our guards are in critical condition. You need to stand down, Diana interrupted. Pull your forces back. Establish perimeter at 200 meters, but do not engage unless civilians are directly threatened. Stand down, Princess, these individuals are dangerous. They are terrified, Diana corrected. Pulled from their homes into an alien world, surrounded by armed forces they do not understand. Your presence is escalating the situation. Pull back, Captain. That is not a request. Captain Raynar looked to Master Karana T, who nodded confirmation. Do as she says, Captain. Diana has experience with this type of situation. Reluctantly, the security forces withdrew. Diana, Sarah, and Master Karana T approached the plaza alone, hands visible and weapons holstered. As they drew closer, Diana could see the arrivals more clearly. A woman in silver armor that resembled Asgardian design, lightning crackling around her fists. A being composed entirely of living flame, its form barely contained in humanoid shape. A young man whose skin shifted between solid matter and something like living shadow. A creature that appeared to be made of crystal, refracting light in dazzling patterns. Others, each unique, each powerful, each terrified. In the center of the plaza stood a figure that commanded Diana's immediate attention. A man in a red cape and blue suit, bearing an unfamiliar symbol on his chest. He hovered a foot above the ground, and his eyes glowed with barely contained power. When he spoke, his voice carried across the plaza with superhuman projection. I do not know where I am, I do not know how I got here, but I will not be contained, experimented upon, or imprisoned. Let us leave peacefully or face the consequences. Diana recognized the stance, the tone, the desperate nobility. He was a hero trying to protect the others, willing to fight an entire world if necessary to ensure their freedom. She stepped forward, removing her helmet so he could see her face clearly. My name is Diana. I am like you, pulled through a gate from another world. I understand your fear. I understand your confusion. But you are not prisoners here. You are refugees, and I have come to help you. The man's glowing eyes focused on her, analyzing, assessing. You are like us? From beyond this galaxy? From a world called Themyscira. I arrived weeks ago through the same gate network that brought you here. I have been working with this galaxy's peacekeepers to understand what happened and find a way home. Home? One of the other arrivals, the crystal being, said, its voice like wind chimes. Can we truly return? Diana chose her words carefully. I do not yet know, but I promise you this. I will not allow you to be imprisoned or exploited. I will stand between you and anyone who would harm you, and together, we will find answers. The tension in the plaza shifted. Several of the arrivals lowered their defensive postures, but the man in the red cape remained hovering, suspicious and ready for violence. Why should we trust you? For all we know, this is an elaborate trap. Diana drew the lasso of truth, letting it gleam in Alderaan's sunlight. This is the lasso of truth. It compels absolute honesty from all who touch it. I will bind myself and answer any question you ask. You will know, with certainty, whether I can be trusted. She wrapped the lasso around her wrist before he could respond, the compulsion settling over her. The man descended slowly, his suspicion warring with desperate hope. Why are you helping us? He asked. Because I remember how lost I felt when I arrived, Diana answered, the truth pulled from her by divine compulsion. Because I know what it is to be far from home, surrounded by the unfamiliar, unsure who to trust. Because helping those in need is what I was born to do. And because if I do not help you, others will attempt to use you, control you, or eliminate you as threats. I will not allow that to happen. The man's glowing eyes dimmed slightly. What is your plan? Sanctuary, protection, time to understand this galaxy and your situation. And then, together, we will find a way to send you home. The lasso's compulsion ensured every word was absolute truth. The man landed fully, the threatening energy around him dissipating. My name is Cal. Where I come from, I am called a protector. If you are truly willing to help us, then I will trust you. For now. Diana unwound the lasso, relief flooding through her. She turned to the other arrivals, addressing them all. I am Diana of Themyscira. I promise you sanctuary, protection, and the truth about your situation. But you must promise me in return, no violence against the beings of this galaxy unless in genuine self-defense. They are not your enemies. They are simply trying to protect their homes from the unknown. One by one, the arrivals agreed. The crisis had been averted, at least temporarily. But as Diana looked at the 15 powerful beings who had just arrived on Alderaan, with reports of dozens more, across the galaxy, she understood that everything had changed. The gates had opened, the Guardians had arrived, and the galaxy far, far away was about to discover that the Force was not the only power in the universe. The royal palace of Alderaan had been converted into a sanctuary for the arrivals, but Diana knew the arrangement was temporary at best. She stood in the palace's war room 3 days